Providing they are sturdy enough, they can make a good quick shelter. However, it's really important that you check that these trees are well hung up and sturdy before deciding to build any form of shelter around them. Again, using no tools, I just snap off a load of sticks and lean these up against the fallen tree trunk. For the larger diameter logs, I just find two trees that are growing closely together and use these as a pivot to pinch and snap the logs. With the skeleton frame of the shelter built, this time there is no bracken around me, but there is an abundance of moss, and so by gently rolling the moss, I'm able to pick up large chunks, which will make it easier to cover the shelter, and it means less journeys carrying the moss back and forth. This type of moss does not have a root system, it spreads by rhizomes, and so it's important not to pull up an entire area of moss, as it can be detrimental to the regrowth. So I'm always careful to move on to another patch of moss, rather than take it all from one area. And with that, the shelter is complete, with an insulated moss roof and a large enough area inside to comfortably sleep and stay dry. But what if you don't have a fallen tree or log to build a shelter against? In this case, you will need to make a basic A-frame. You can do this by finding two forked sticks and interlocking them with each other to create the A-frame shape. Then use a longer log to slot into these interlocking forked sticks. This acts as a centre ridgepole and will allow your structure to stand freely on its own. Then cut off a forked branch and put a point on the end of it. Hit this into the ground to secure your ridgepole in place and stop it from rolling to the side. Then, as with the previous shelters, lean up the sticks against the ridgepole and add in some moss as the insulation layer. You can see from looking at the rear of the shelter that it really blends in well with the backdrop of the woodland. Again, it's wide enough to be comfortable in and low enough to have headroom but still be low profile. I mentioned earlier about building a shelter with no tools in 20 minutes.